Said that tonight we're going to be talking about the Zen and the art of psychonauting, and I'd like to open the floor for you, whatever, pass the energy ball over.
Well, thank you. Well, greetings, everyone. I have not had my business meeting yet, so let's just say I'm having a cigarette online. Okay. Um, just want to first of all express my love and gratitude to everyone going through the transformational process. I know how beautiful it is, how challenging it can be, and how fun. I wrote a book called The Electric Jesus that highlights a little bit of my journey. I'd like to start there quickly and then just talk about where I've been going in my journey and see where you guys are at, and we can do a go around and chat about that. So essentially I began my journey. Some of you can relate with this. I was a media activist when George Bush was running for his second term and did a lot of flashy media stuff to really try to get that guy who had created these illegal wars not reelected. And it was very successful. I was on the cover of New York Magazine. We were in Time. I was speaking on CNN. It was kind of a Burning Man inspired, very flashy, fun campaign. And when Bush won that election, I just fell into a dark night of the soul, like so many people. 500,000 people protested the largest convention ever. And to me, it was a culmination of all the global movements, you know, the anti-IMF stuff and all the stuff that had been building. And it just felt like we completely crashed at that point in time. All my friends were depressed. I didn't leave bed for a couple weeks, having spent a year of my life doing this. And I started looking at society and how deep the separation faults are, the trauma, the possession issues, the patriarchy, the dispossession. And I looked at it, and it seemed to go all the way back to this myth of the agricultural revolution and civilization as this kind of evolutionary journey. And I thought to myself, my God, what we need is a paradigm shift. No Republican or Democrat can solve the magnitude of this issue. And to my surprise, after looking for several months and really getting disheartened, my girlfriend on my 30th birthday said, you know what? It's time for you to take some MDMA and get your butt on the dance floor.
Wow.
Bass Nectar was playing. Do you guys know Bass Nectar?
Yeah.
Super big in the U.S. And man, when I say this at conferences, kids go crazy. But it was Bass Nectar playing, and a lot of my critics say that you look on Amazon, this guy's not a real spiritual seeker because he uses pills sometimes to accelerate his evolution. But I would say getting in community, dancing, music, connecting, and getting into altered states of consciousness is as old as it can get, shamanically. And so I was there, I was connecting with all these friends and new friends, and obviously other people were on stuff too. And then suddenly I just connected into this higher vibration, the heart moment, the present moment, the eternal presence. And like lightning, this thing kind of comes through me, and then poof, the lights turn on. And that's when I started seeing energy fields on my 30th birthday. And that's where my life changed. And so over the years, my activism went from taking media through other avenues and creating our own. We created a web magazine with 2012 author Daniel Pinchbeck called Reality Sandwich that became super popular. And I met a lot of big wave psychonauts out there that were kind of transversing these territories. We started a regional network of 50 regional groups called Evolver. It actually popped up in Amsterdam for a little bit. And I wrote a book called The Electric Jesus and have traveled with it and got my certification in bioenergetic healing, Reiki master, all this stuff, started my own healing practice. And about 6 years ago, I was in the bathroom at the Brooklyn Botanic Gardens on a light dose of mushrooms. And what's like that one rule of psychedelics when you're in the bathroom? Anybody know?
No.
Whatever you do,
Don't panic.
number one rule of the Hitchhiker's Guide, right? Don't look yourself in the mirror. Don't look at yourself in the mirror. And I had applied to that rule forever, but this time I knew I had to do it. Because when I walked in that bathroom, I felt the darkest of the dark stuff in my life. The shadow, the demon, the addiction, the depression, the suicidal thoughts that had haunted my life. In the Electric Jesus, I call this the black bowling ball. And whenever I get clients, they're almost always calling me about the black bowling ball. Seems that I'm not the only one that had one. You know, it's these knots of anxiety, depression, despair, things that hold us down. And so I went on a pretty intense 6-year study. In the greatest miscalculation of my lifetime, when I sensed this presence that I would have called demonic back then, I thought, oh, okay, I've got some demonic attachment thing. Okay, that's cool. I'll just go in a couple ayahuasca ceremonies and get this out. Over 100 ayahuasca ceremonies later, I don't know, probably hundreds of healers, my own journeys, all of this, you know, it would take 6 to 7 years to transform this energy. And my biggest training was the Santo Daime Church. Does anyone there know the Santo Daime?
No.
Mm-mm.
No?
No.
No.
I think they have a pretty cool church in Amsterdam, actually, if anyone's interested. I don't know how to connect you, but essentially if you mix Jesus and ayahuasca, this is in a mystery school, this is the church. And with the Electric Jesus, I had been studying all this. It's like this cool fusion, that book, of adventure memoir in the form of like Kerouac, Bukowski, that with the postmodern angle, with a layman's, like, let's make this make sense to everybody, look at all the Gnostic Gospels. And I don't think that had been done before, with an special emphasis on how Jesus and that crew, whether they really existed or it's more metaphor, knew about energy and transformation. Energy to heal, to transform consciousness, to evolve. And the great thing about the Daime is it was no longer theoretical. I was drinking the medicine. I was reconnecting with the plants, with a spiritual doctrine of the light. These beings, they had a whole ecology, a quantum ecology of these light beings that helped them. It's kind of like nature spirits meets a little bit of white voodoo meets this, and they have a long tradition of illuminating dark beings into the light. They consider it an act of charity work. So the way they perceive it is a lot of these attachments, depressions, anger, anxiety, they would almost always say it's a being. If you think it's a being, it's a being. I don't hold fast and true to that, but it was a fascinating study where I would go in, this dark energy would come through, threaten to kill myself, other people, murder, blah, blah, blah. And here's the Daime people coming up and saying to this energy, or entity, or whatever you want to call it, welcome, brother, we're glad you're here. You're here to join us in the light. We're so glad to have you too. You know, this is a place of God. This is a place of love. But I still wasn't quite getting it, even 100 ceremonies in. Also, they kept saying, call in your guides to clean you up. And for about 2 years in that work, I think I was in the Daime actually for about 3.5 years. For 2 years, I did not believe in guides. I thought that was a joke. I believed in the dark entities because I had that coming through me all the time. But a guide, that's quite a miracle. And then, once again, on my 32nd birthday, I believe, maybe it's 33rd. Be cool if it was the 33rd. I was in a ceremony with one of the big Daime people who, her father, she actually would channel in her father. Hopefully people can follow this without thinking it's too woo-woo. She would channel in her father, who was the master at illuminating these beings. And he illuminated a really big one named Trunkarua, which means block path. And in this epic journey, Trunkarua and him unite, and you have the union of opposites, the light and the dark, and they become friends to create vaster illumination, reunion. And she just suddenly says, call in your guides. And for the first time ever, this like invisible, lovely, angelic jujitsu master kind of comes through. In the Daime, they would call it your appareo, which is my vessel, our vessel, and starts dancing through me, pulling negative energies out, holding my hand up to catch streams of energy to bring it through me. And it was so delicious and beautiful, and it's the first time I understood flow, and I gotta say I freaking puked my ass off that day. As one does. So I met the guides in this, stuck with the daime, but after some time, I just realized the daime was too hard, man. 13 hours, often, in an intense psychedelic experience, wearing a white suit with a blue tie while sitting in a chair, singing hymns, it was too long, too hard, too much. And I just thought to myself, there's got to be an easier way. Well, fortunately, in the daime, they use Santa Maria, which is sacralized marijuana, as one of their sacraments. And I had started using it again. I stopped because of with the black bowling ball, I was having these severe panic attacks. So what I did is I just stopped smoking cannabis, this or that, and I just stuck with the daime for safety. But now I felt like I could get back into cannabis, and that's when I discovered yoga, cannabis, qigong, energy work, and it just let me get into the places I could not get into in ceremony. I would do a Warrior One, and gold lights would come through my body. You know, I would do some backbend, and pink, fluffy energy would go through my spine and flush it out. Like, all this great stuff just started to happen. And I didn't have to be there for 13 hours. An hour and a half psychonauting session got me further than a 13-hour ayahuasca journey. So that was a great revelation, and it all really transformed when I moved to California to start hanging out with even bigger wave surfers and learn and grow with them. I was on the beach at Ocean Beach in San Francisco, and I was just checking out these cool surfers riding really tumultuous waves and catching them. And I noticed how much fun they were having. And watching the ocean, you kind of realize it looks a lot like certain realms in the quantum field. And I was like, oh, holy shit. Holy shift. These guys are riding energy for fun, for play, for joy, pleasure. And that's really when Zen and the Art of Psychonauting began. Is I look at the Psychonaut journey as a great adventure, a magical one where as we build positive momentum, riding these waves, we catch bigger, glorious waves. Also sometimes really subtle, beautiful, feminine waves that turn out to even be stronger than some of the big ones you see come in. And I just became this connoisseur of energy waves and learning them and letting them come through me from the darkest of the dark to the lightest of the light. And over time, my life became like these Gnostic Gospels. It's kind of weird. It wasn't theoretical anymore. Some of you may know that magical alchemical Gospel of Thomas line, when you make the two into the one, the left like the right, the male into the female, the upper and the lower, kind of that line, then you will become one with the living Father, and I would say Mother, in the eternal present. And that actually started happening in my life. Trust was no longer a theoretical idea. It was a white light connection and alignment to divine grace in my heart. And I really just started understanding that it's all about love. It's a love vibration everywhere we go. In ourselves, the trick is to be the divine beings we are and to feel good, to feel awesome. The reason we want thriving careers, we want to spiritually evolve, is I think we want to feel our natural higher selves and how awesome we really are. And in my study, these things go in directions you never expect, right? That's kind of the fun part. One was a lot about pleasure revolution and sexual alchemy, sexual energy. So I've kind of literally been making love to my demons, making love to my shadow and my light, making love to my feminine and my masculine. These feminine energies are coming out so strong right now. And I think a lot of our black bowling balls and shut down stuff is actually just really sweet feminine and masculine energy that can be integrated. But the thing is, it's so fast, it's so high vibe that you kind of got to surrender into it. And if you don't, I think that's one of the reasons a lot of people are sick or going through these things, is they just actually have really great high vibe energy that needs yet to be accessed. And that's part of the oneness, this whole question of the shadow is, well, in the end what I'm seeing is it's all just one. It's all beautiful. You're in Amsterdam. A lot of my work has been working around healing Holocaust energies. My next book, the first chapter, is going to be set right in Auschwitz. And I'm going to make a bet with the reader that by the end of this book, we can heal all this and let it go. Remembering the Psychonaut guideline #1. Nothing, lighten up. Nothing serious is going on. And it's weird. Towards the tail end, I've had all these kind of Holocaust energies. I've manifested anything from Gestapo people to Hitler energies to the victims to finally kind of a star of the show, Anne Frank, who wanted to be a journalist, was a really wild, funky spirit if you read about her. You know, and she was Dutch, I think, right? Dutch, Netherlands, kind of. And
Yeah,
I've been what's that?
her house is just around the corner.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
I apologize, guys. It's probably been 10 years since I've been rolling in Amsterdam, so I'm a little light on that kind of thing. But I've literally been feeling this white light of Anne Frank coming in and healing final touches of this Holocaust energy and being like, literally I feel this white light energy stream saying, oh, this is my work. It's just letting all of this go. Bringing us back to oneness. So, you know, now I even look at like the Vladimir Putins and like all of these things with a vast amount of compassion because I see the Vladimir Putin in myself. I see all these things. I see the divine, I see the devil, I see that, this, and just have love. Because I really feel, and I've seen it and sensed it, is love. All you need is love. And a good game plan. Yeah, and I really recommend for folks, too, to explore their sexual selves, their sensual, pleasurable selves, to really start reactivating the first, second chakras. I do a lot of, Claudia, my partner, and I, we call it massage work, which is a butt massage, because very few people ever go in those no-no zones to actually open up what I call the Puritan trauma. You know, I'm American, so we have this puritanical work culture, addiction, anti-sexuality, anti-body belief system matrix to let go of and come back into our original health and wholeness. So it's kind of weird, but one of my practices these days is actually to just get people to, sometimes if they like to get high, I think that can be good, and explore and pleasure themselves and breathe energy down there and start awakening the new life. And I really see a new quantum renaissance happening. It's kind of like, maybe I'll end with this too. You know, with the molecular world, when we discovered, like, the microbiological world, you know, in the 1800s, no one would have believed there's these invisible things in your body, well, invisible to our eye. You can't see them, but they cause sickness. There's allies and blocks, you know, there's germs and there's, like, white blood cells and the whole thing. And I think these, like, white blood cells and all that are connected to the energy system. And as you understand these realms, you can heal and do things you never thought possible. The energy realm hits, I think, at the source of all sources, because it's the foundation of the universe, is this divine creative source energy. So tapping back into source and the being of source, I'm really getting it now. Like, we're one being. There's this divine, ever-present being in all of us. And I love meeting that being in its different forms and manifestations everywhere I go. So as I wake up to this quantum reality, build positive momentum, keep meeting others, resonating in their heart center, that sacred chamber of the integrator of opposites, people that are bringing the word into flesh, embodying spirit into matter, overcoming fear and terror to find joy and magic in this lifetime. What I'm seeing is the alignment we have with things like global warming and all these things. It's a misperspective. As we come back into alignment, and the Sufis say this, when the rivers get polluted, they need to go back to source. I think as we go back to source, it really is this birth time. A lot of people are going through the labor pains, the initiatory process. My work as a professional healer and psychonaut is to help with this midwifery, this birth. It's not a death, of going into something greater and focusing our vision, our light, our intentions on what's already present. and just feeling the vastness of these dimensions, the beauty, the light, the power they have to overcome, I kind of now see my mission as a broader kind of healer and media activist, writer, speaker, is to help hold that vision and just share it with folks like you. And my invitation is always for everyone to just celebrate the alignment of love and the human spirit and family. If you ask me what got me through hell, I almost went crazy, I almost lost my life, and what got me through that other side is this beautiful, uncountable thing called the human spirit that we all hold. And I see it with all my clients, is just this ability to overcome seemingly impossible limitation and rise above into brand new, exciting frontiers. So anyway, I'm excited to be here in this galactic time and space with all of you, learning and playing together in this psychonautic skill share. For the skill share portion, as we're about to go around, I'd like to share the one thing I've really learned this week. And Claudia and I simply call it spike and fluff energy. It kind of came about through the universe, piece by piece, bringing the word spike and fluff into my life. And I was like, what is this about? And fluff is like those high-bi, fluffy, pink, fuzzy, orange, delicious, purple, feminine energies. And then the spike sometimes is my electric Jesus. It's the lightning. It's the Tron energy. It's love bombs that I can explode in my heart to totally annihilate dark energies with love and alchemize them. You know, it's kind of like dark energy. People think of it, I think rather than a black bowling ball, it's the coal for fireworks to explode and turn into light. And so through a process of fluff and spike, these two simple things, it's like it's an upgrade for me of yin and yang understanding to see maybe more high vibe quantum galactic vibrations. You can bring in a spike energy to heal, a lightning down your spine, through a leg that needs a little bit of core root work. You can even bring in a fluffy energy with a spike, make it a pink energy. But I tend to spike and fluff, or fluff and spike. And then sometimes the spike needs to be more fluff than spike, or the fluff needs to be more spike than fluff. It's an experiment I've done within my body and with my clients that has accelerated results with very simple but powerful processes. So it's something I recommend people try out. You may be a little scared of the lightning, electric Jesus stuff, the Zeus lightning bolt kind of thing, but you also might find it super exciting, like driving a Porsche. And then the fluff is like bringing in a really fluffy tantrika into your own energy system. And the spike and the fluff come together for this magic sexual intercourse of union. Or we could even say sensual. But in my mind, it's all union, and in the universe, it's all kind of a really beautiful, sexy play of energetic exchange. So that's my skill share. Do we want to go around, Mark, and have people share what they're discovering in their psychonautic, like, what's their spike and fluff revelation?
Josh's hand just shot up.
With the lightning bolts.
I mean, we've really come a really long way in the last like 3 or 4 days here, and I know that's true because I think I really understand almost everything you're saying, but I really want to know how to do all of it. And can I ask a question? And that is you were saying that a 90-minute psychonauting session gets you more results than like a long ayahuasca ceremony.
Yeah.
So how do you do it? Can you give us like a basic rundown of how you would go about a 90-minute psychonauting session?
Thanks, Josh. I appreciate it. And I want you guys to know I'm a little under the weather today, so I can't take I could, and I'd probably feel good, because when you get in the driver's seat, you get more empowered. You know, when you're in the passenger seat, you're going to get hit a lot more. But yeah, so I'll take you through it. I mean, I use puke buckets in some of my sessions, just like in ayahuasca. For me, I get high. I would like to work with some cactus soon. Sorry, let me turn this off. Usually the clients, we can get a little deeper if we get high. And then I've been practicing with, I call it the Illuminati. Is actually a guy, I was guided to that with other big wave surfers, and we've been practicing for about 6 months of illuminating our fields. So what I like to do is do a shielding work thing where we shield ourselves and we clean out, like it's a spinal gutting of the spine and the chakras, just like you floss your teeth, maybe a little more root canal work even. And I use that with some sacred geometry like a star tetrahedron. In my opinion, a lot of sacred geometry, or experience, not opinion, holds energetic vectors that are multidimensional, and they can kind of kick the ass out of third-dimensional limitation. You know, 3D seems to be sometimes lacking that perspective of universal love. So I'll bring in those. We'll call in the guides. We'll call in all the angels and stuff, because a lot of it is working with fractals upon fractals of guides. You might say your higher self, but it seems to be connected to something else. It's a mystery. And then I use streams of consciousness to go in there and flush out those energies, to bring them up. I will bring in the highest Tron. For sexual abuse, a lot of hot pink, a lot of it, a lot of orange, a lot of excitement. You got abuse, which most people do from their family homes. That's going to be deep ancestral stuff in the family lines, deep past life stuff often. And so healing the family is a very big thing. And the trick is to just let it go and come back into love. So I'll do that with a lot of the fluff and the spike energy. And literally, so if you could imagine, we're working on...
Are you guiding people with language, or how are you doing this?
Good question. The guy I work with never uses language. I do, because I know if I say to somebody, hey, let that hot pink energy in you rip, let it open, create a balloon, then suddenly you got two of us doing it together. I'm not a very big healer-client kind of guy. I'm like psychonaut. You know, we're two allies. In fact, one of the biggest healings I do with clients is to have them heal me for 5 minutes, because people don't realize they're these Jedi masters waiting to come out. I know it. You're an energy being. You can eat, you can shit, you're a human, you can heal. And so I'll have people that think they're in really bad states, and then I'll be like, okay, you've seen what I've done. Let's switch it. I want a healing around this. And my guides will usually say this healing. And then they'll kick my ass, man. It'll be great. But yeah, some of it's visual. I mean, the real work is mostly, and it's taken some time for me to really trust this over Skype, but I've had enough kick my ass Skype sessions to know that, to start trusting the non-locality of energy that quantum physicists talk about. Like, just because you're in Amsterdam doesn't mean my St. Michael guide can't get right in your body and start doing stuff. A lot of the healing, too, is I will go inside myself. This is kind of a horror healing work in bioenergetic philosophy. I go inside myself and heal the thing that's going on with the other person. So if they've got a broken heart, you know, a lot of people suffer from betrayal, paranoia stuff, that kind of thing. And I'm going to know that's collapsed. We would call that collapsed 4B, the back of the fourth chakra, the heart, probably slumped shoulders. So I'll probably call in St. Michael into my own body, straighten and align my spine, feel where that thing is, and just start kicking its ass with love and grace inside myself. And that's usually when you'll start hearing the coughing, the puking, the phlegm coming up, all of those things, you know?
Okay, I actually understood that also, which is amazing. Okay, so we noticed that there's like a certain moment where you kind of get ready for takeoff, and it's psychonauting. Like, you know, it's like a feeling like where the energy starts to really flow, and you really start to feel like the energy is lining up, and it's like getting ready for blast off. And then we feel like we can really we can really move around, or, you know, we can really start to explore whatever it is we're exploring. Do you have any sort of discussion about how to optimally get into that really receptive state, or whatever state that is?
Oh, yeah, get in a receptive state. I mean, that's the kind of weird thing about the healing I do is it's the art of easy manifestation. So if you're like, I want to feel better, the trick is we got to start feeling better right now. Every trick. So how do you relax into it? Well, first, just trust you can actually do that. Negativity and limitation has been blocking us probably our whole lives. So it's going to come in quick. Especially like when you talk about that kind of blast off stuff, man, does that remind me of ayahuasca and daime, where sometimes you're just like, whoa, the turbulence here is intense, right?
I mean, I feel like I can almost hear like the wind in my ears starting to pick up at that point. And, you know, or like you remember in the Terminator movie right before he appears, you know, from the other time, and there's a bunch of electrical activity in the area, and then all of a sudden as the jump is made, it kind of feels like that a little bit.
Quantum leap. Yeah, and
Yeah.
that old resistant energy probably will pop up as you're kind of squeezing, moving, dissolving, lighting up into next frontiers. I've literally felt that kind of kick-in moment where my higher self is coming in, and I used to just have freak out upon freak out and kind of bail. These days, I kind of enjoy that stuff. It's like going on a great rafting ride. You know, if you go on just a raft ride with straight, boring waves, that might not be as exciting as going through some white water and catching some good bigger waves in there. And then once you do that, those heavy energies calm down into really quick moving, soft, gentle energies. But yeah, I have a whole systems check for when it's kind of like buckling your seatbelt and knowing, you know, I'm like, am I breathing? Am I in my body? Did I remember fun? Did I remember love? All of these things are tools I use to land that initial acceleration. Because once you get through that and you kind of land, that it doesn't don't things usually kind of run okay. You might hit another spot or two, but I find the takeoff is often where people freak out. And often the takeoff is before you even sit in ceremony or a session. You know, it's like 2 hours ahead of time. You're just feeling it. Like, oh my God, am I even going to show up for this expedition?
I know for me the takeoff is the best part. That's just such an amazing feeling. I just want to know.
Me
I
too
want to know
these
how.
days.
I want to know how quickly. I want to know. I want to get there as quickly as I can and strap in and take off as soon as possible. Really, I just wondering how to get going quick. You know, get the ball rolling as quickly as possible.
Yeah, man. This is Josh, right?
Yeah.
Well, in my work, what I would highlight is you're already doing it and affirm the positive energy so that we get more of that. So I'm hearing you're already launching very quickly and awesomely. So I would say keep up your game and keep up your study. And the whole thing is you're asking me how to do it, and I have my ways. But the main way I'm saying it is like obviously you're a big wave psychonaut and learning more. So it's a study. That question you asked is like an entire study, right? That's probably never going to end.
Does anybody else have a
I,
question?
I have something I want to skill share. I want to add that you might have some thoughts about Talat. Something that we picked up today was giving personalities to all the numbers. One, like basically 0 through 10, we really thought a lot about their personalities and how they interrelate. And we tried to call each number in as a guide. Does that make
Sure.
sense?
Oh yeah.
And and we thought that that'd be really useful to us in our lives because we have to deal with numbers on such a daily basis, and they can become really fun.
I do that all the time. I don't put numbers, but that's an old bioenergetic trick, especially with shadow stuff or personalities, is you just give them, they will give them names for each
Yeah.
personality instead of a number, and you let them come out and talk and express. So one of, I think, our jobs exploring next frontiers is to go to places a lot of people still fear. And so for me, and places people can't imagine because they're so great. And so me, what I've been bringing in is what's been coming to me, but for instance, how do I put this? I work with, one of my jobs is to get people to say the thing they're never supposed to say. So we have a moment of energetic honesty. We have acceptance. And then the energy will move. And I have brought in stuff I never thought I could handle, like insanity energy. And my feeling is when I'm healing that, it feels not so personal. Like some of it's me, but it feels connected to my family and humanity itself. And what I like when I felt this insanity wave, I hear a lot of waves come in. I know I'll hear joy, I'll hear grace. A lot of pop music I think is downloaded in very high vibe. So you may be noticing like you turn on the radio and you hear a song and it's right in alignment with your life. Surprise, surprise. So that stuff comes through. But when something like insanity comes through, isn't that a huge fear that a lot of people have? Oh my God, I actually might be insane on some level. And so what I saw when this insanity thing came up is I freaked out at first, and I was like, well, why don't you have a great adventure? And so I let insanity in. And what I felt was it was the fear of insanity that was the problem for people. And once you connect with insanity, the fear of it, it cleans itself out and then turns into fun insanity. Oh my God, did you catch that wave? That's insane. I think a lot of the mental illness we talk about, the physical illness, is simply people are not sane. Their energy systems, their biological systems, their mental systems need to be cleaned out and fluffed up. That's the primary thing. Now, one time, and this is where I really encourage experimentation, I had a very deep extinction energy come in from the Holocaust and beyond. And it was so big and scary that it kind of freaked me out at first. But it went in, I connected with it, and once again, it was like I connected with the fear, and it turned into light. And I saw extinction turn into something quite beautiful. But I was kind of mad at it, because I was like, damn, man, that stuff hurt me for a long time. I want some restorative justice. I want more healing. And so I kind of opened up this badass part of me that I never used to allow myself. And I literally told that energy, like, get back in here. And I brought that like rainbow extinction energy back into my body for a deeper healing, cleaned me out in a whole other way, and then it shot up in like the most beautiful fireworks I've ever seen. So it's kind of like extinction going to orgasm in the alchemical process.
Wow.
Isn't it weird we're talking about these things publicly over like funny little...
Don't worry,
This
the
is
NSA is listening.
perfectly
I have another question. Do you have any strategies for starting to sort out all of the? I mean, it's like I've just become aware of all these different energies in play, and I'm looking around, and it's just a dizzying amount of different things. And do you have any way of sorting them out? I mean, mainly the number one goal is to sort out my own energies from other energies. And then the next thing I'd like to do is to figure out a way to separate like the energies of people that are in the room with me with the energies of maybe what guides or other people elsewhere in the world that are maybe thinking about us or whatever, and then also other energies that might be separated by time and space with much more distance. So
Okay,
like,
cool. Who is this?
how do you start to sort all this out?
Who is this speaking right now?
Josh again.
It's Josh again. Yeah, okay. Thought so. You know, once again, there's a million ways to answer this. And I want to, you know, we're in a quantum reality now. There's not a right or wrong. There's not, this is kind of teaching I'd like to get on this one, Joshua, if that's okay. I wouldn't go for is there a right or wrong way or is there a specific, I have a strategy for that too. But the thing I heard most, and I know it so well myself because I do it too, but I'm getting so much better. Attitude is the answer. Attitude is the answer. So I think you have all these questions in your head. And what I was getting guidance as soon as you started talking is, oh God, he just needs to have fun. He just needs to enjoy the ride, enjoy the journey, and learn as he goes. Because when you're having fun, when you're not taking it seriously, I was once told, why do angels fly? Because they take themselves lightly. When you have that perspective, the answers aren't quite as important as you're just feeling good. So I would say focus on feeling good in yourself, and as you clean those energies out, things might start to make more sense. I got to say, 10 years into this study, what's mine, what's yours, I don't know. I know there's this divine energy, this divine spirit coming into me that feels like, that is connected with the divine of all things and matches up with all the gospels and everything else. So, while you're focused on this energy and that, maybe remembering the bigger picture of love and interconnection will get you through that journey. Because it is very complicated. It is complex. It's fractal upon fractal upon fractal in an interdimensional world as a waking up interdimensional being. It's like a dream. Go figure out a dream. It's a study. And the only thing I got to say is just have fun, man. You're surfing some good waves. Keep surfing them. You'll learn as you go. It sounds to me like you're ready to hit some bigger ones. And I think that's the act of surrender.
Yeah. All right. Where do we find this bigger wave?
Literally these days, I just put grace in my heart and try to walk with it, and walk with it as best I can. So it leads me in alignment.
I'm wondering
That wasn't my old business model.
I wanted to ask, how important do you think psychoactive stuff is? Because I sort of feel like, well, I'm kind of done with that. I'd like to move on. But do you feel like it's an essential part of getting to where you want to be?
Oh yeah, everyone must do psychedelics every day, all the time.
Oh damn. Okay, I'll start again.
No, I mean, I just love your question. It sounds like you figured out where you're at. Like, will I ever do ayahuasca or daime again? I don't freaking know, dude. It's not my journey right now. So I think you're at a good space in your journey. I mean, I work with a lot of clients that are, it's weird because I love cannabis as a medicine because it's not too intense. You can work with it, Try surfing on DMT. Try playing tennis on ayahuasca.
Yeah, I get what you mean.
I can barely walk to the bathroom sometimes on mushrooms, much less do a yoga pose, unless it's a light dose. But cannabis gets me there really well, and it's like I can move with it and play with it. It's like a great sport and art form. So I love to work with that. I work with a lot of psychonauts, and they always like to smoke big when they do it. But I also work with people getting off cannabis. I do believe it can be a totally addictive substance. And, well, I'd like to change the word addiction to addictive tendencies. I think addiction as a label is a dangerous thing. It's just a relationship. But, so I work with a lot of people like that. And psychonauting, for me, is an explorer and expander of consciousness in all their forms. And some, like Buddha, maybe didn't do anything, was probably one of the best psychonauts of all time. Then again, I think Jesus was probably doing some mushrooms and cannabis, and I think he was a great psychonaut too. I'm done. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We're just kind of letting it all soak in. That was a really interesting and colorful presentation. It was really easy to understand sort of your experiences. Nice to get some background.
Yeah, I mean, if you have more questions or want to go, I just don't know. There was this lingering dead silence after I talked about Jesus and Buddha, and I was like, uh-oh.
Deep thought.
Yeah, deep thoughts.
There
Well,
might be a little bit of delay.
we have of course, a question that we've been waiting to ask you. We were asking everyone who's presenting at this conference, and that is, what is energy?
Deep silence.
You know what I want? Okay, I come from the Church of Trickster, where I'm tricking the Matrix all the time. You know what I mean? I'm finding the way where you're not supposed to go and saying, fuck it, let's do that. So could you please repeat your question again?
What is energy?
Why did the chicken cross the road? Why? 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 That's a joke. Once again, I want to say, attitude is the answer. What is energy? It's an experience. It's a joyful act. It's an art form. It's life. It's breath. It's like, you guys can answer it too. I see it in waveforms and colors and beauty and images and, in my physical life. People think energy is this esoteric thing, but our entire system is aligned for this, our entire guidance system. When we hear things, those are energetic vibrations that we translate through weird processes. When we see things, they're energetic vibrations that our brains literally flip upside down and back again. There's always kind of this dual dance in these forms. So there's these physical waves, and then I think there are the subtler waves that we can hit when we attune our guidance systems, our sensory perception systems. And what I'm almost getting is light, spirit, is always guiding us energetically. And if we surrender into our real systems, just like a bird knows how to navigate north and such, we do that much more effectively. So, if you ask me what energy it is, I think it's a lot of mysteries to be experienced. And I think it's really about the experience.
All right.
Mm-hmm. I have more questions. How about communication and information sharing over these energies that we're describing?
Great question. My God, guys. You all are probably having an awesome time in Amsterdam from these questions. I can only imagine. Jesus. All right. Sorry, I'm a little sick, like I said. Communication and ideas.
Let me tell you, like, for example, the context of this question is the reason why we started working on the numbers today is because we wanted to give them all such a clear picture in our mind of the personality and what this number might be like, that we're gonna try to then communicate these numbers to each other by focusing on the qualities of kind of the spirit that we've given to these numbers. That's sort of a little experiment we're running, but that's the kind of thing that I'm wondering about. I mean, there's definitely a way to do it because other species do it, right? They communicate like fish in a school or
Plants, birds in a flock.
birds, So the question is, have you discovered in your psychonauting sort of how to do it in humans?
Well, yes, but my way. And what I'm hearing is, if you were a client of mine, I would take that and be like, that's a cool little exercise for your workshops and packages and Renaissance career. Like, those little discoveries of let's do a number exercise with this. What is that, like advanced energetic numerology? Like, I've never heard of this. So I want to acknowledge your experimentation and how awesome it is. Like, let's once again focus on positive. You're finding your way, which is very different than my way, I think. And if I have one message throughout all this is with every heady question, if you answer it with fun in your heart, you're going to get the answer quicker. But as far as communication goes, the art of mediumship is my favorite study. I'm an artist, I'm a writer. Like, the best ideas that come to me are through shamanic vortexes in lateral space where I'm usually not even trying, and it comes through. Often what I'll even do, so in a session, Claudia started calling me the sleuth because I use deductive reasoning and multidimensional guidance to bring me places. It's not one or the other. So I'll literally be asking certain questions to bring out things in the bioenergetic quantum field, and then I'll hear a whisper. Oh God. Sometimes that whisper I know is a guide. And usually it's something really funny and way off topic that I wouldn't do myself. Like this woman suffering from sexual abuse and projecting her anger on men, and really beautiful woman but couldn't enjoy men in her life. My guides came in and it's like, I just saw this image of her pretending she was a giant crystal cock for a week. Right? Okay, so that's my type of healing, is we're not trying to heal, we're actually healing. How do you heal sexual abuse and anger about men? Well, integrate your masculine and be a giant cock for a week. That week, she nailed like 5 clients in her practice. She met her boyfriend, this and that. It's just like crazy shit happened when she finally integrated her own masculine and became a dick. So that's one way I like to work, is the sleuthing guidance in a session. Ideas come, I pass them on, they have ideas, they'll bring them up. My guides, a lot of times there's guide-to-guide communication. One of the coolest things I ever saw in the Daime is there's this guy, Paulo Roberto, who leads Illumination Works, and his guide, they say his guide speaks the language of other guides. And, you know, for a while I was like, yeah, whatever, whatever. But when I developed my guidance skill, one time he walks into the ceremony and they start the mediumship portion, and I just see his guide come up and go, caca, caca. Like, it made this caca sound almost, right? It goes like, clack, clack, clack. It made this sound, and my guide lifted, and every guide in the room lifted. So suddenly you had 20 people bursting up and dance, singing, shooting energy bolts at each other, all this high vibe light coming in, and greatly amplifying our potential to heal. So that's a guide communicating with other guides. One thing I particularly love is to spin communicative ideas, creative ideas with the universe. Some of my favorite artists are the archetypal artists who understand the universe is co-creating a project with you. I think David Lynch, if you guys have seen Twin Peaks, there was no Bob figure until he was on the set and he saw this guy who was the carpenter, and he's like, that's the guy. And then he had him be Bob, or like, who's 2001, Kubrick is a hugely archetypal director. Anyone that can see that movie, Room 323, about The Shining, it will give you a sense of how he works archetypally, and I do that too. I look for a name, like the name Psychonaut. I was kind of looking for an upgrade in my practice. I put it out to the universe, and through some magical means, someone else actually says the name to me. Same with the place I wanted to move to. It came to me through someone else, and they said the word space camp, and I was like, oh my God, that's it. And as soon as I thought that, she goes, hey, aren't you looking for a name for your Center of Psychonautics? And I was like, yeah, I think space camp's it. And that's because she was going to do a journey. Literally, I'm naming our center off this woman's journey, Amelia Earhart journey, of going into a parabolic airplane, you know, those ones that drop and you get at 0 gravity. She will likely be the first human ever to do that on DMT. DMT and 0 gravity. And so that's how I named Space Camp. It's got a mythic name, but it's fun, it's campy, it's poppy, and yet it's archetypal. And that's kind of how I work communicatively. So I think that was Josh again. I think you have a really great practice to grow with the numerology and playing with that. And if I could pitch in my thing here, it would be communication with your own guides to others, and also just with the overall guidance of the magical universe. All the world's a stage. Why not use it for your fun and adventure?
Any technical suggestions on how to do that?
Trust. patience. I had a bobcat come to me a couple weeks ago, look at me through a window when I was meditating for about 2 minutes. The bobcat was just staring me in the eyes, this elusive animal. And I understood it was this incredible animal medicine about understanding how we. Josh, if you're asking, I really think you guys got to trust that you're going well.
We want to go faster.
Well, why don't you set up a session with me and we'll give it a try? Just send me an email. I want to see what you know, because I think one thing I would love to extrapolate is just that you know way more than is not to create more me's. It's to create more Jedis in the cool forms that they are. You know, we have a whole new generations coming up where these kids are like little Yodas, but they just don't have anyone that can teach them energy, that knows these things. They actually know more than I do, but they come into the sessions because they kind of need an old guy that's been down the path and can be like, it's okay, here's some things you can do. And also, I'm a guy that knows how to quarterback your own revolution. You know, if you want to do your healing journey, if you want a new career, you know, I have ways to get there. So that's kind of what I offer a lot. And I'd be happy to do that, and if you need a little discounted price or whatever, that's cool too.
We'll definitely do it, but what percentage of the things you think you've learned in your psychonauting career have been new discoveries, and what percentage have been like recognizing things you used to know?
I didn't hear the full question. Was it how many have been new discoveries and how many have been...
Like when new information brought to you or ideas brought to you in the course of doing it, what is sort of recognizing, you know, like what these kids know that we don't know because of too much being, you know, being adults.
Mark, can you simplify that question for me? I think if I could see people's faces, I'd understand.
He's I think talking about the idea that all the information is out there in the ether somewhere, and he's wondering how much of the knowledge that you picked up in your psychonauting career, percentage-wise, how much do you think that you just sort of already knew and had forgotten, or how much was actual new discovery?
I don't know. I mean, I feel like the greatest discovery is I'm discovering who I already was long ago. Like, as I heal all this stuff, I feel like I'm a 5-year-old kid again, you know? So there's this new and refreshness. There's always going to be a paradox in there, I find. So when you guys ask me a yes or this or that question, I'm already like, this and this and this times a million, times a gazillion. We're talking about the creative source energy that creates entire worlds. So if you're asking me to try to... I always love the new discoveries, but then what I see, if you ask me, because I'm kind of a guy who walks the path, and as it comes, that's how I deal with it. It's like a quarterback. He's in the game. And what I've noticed in my game is it kind of comes in piece by piece until a big thing will sometimes hit. But these days, it's like I'm having big things hit all the time, that they seem almost like piece by piece things, because I'm kind of waiting. I know there's some really big waves. And then I'll probably hit those really big waves and think, well, and they'll probably be even bigger. But I follow the synchronicity and pay attention. I used to be a horrible listener. You know, trauma defense systems, that kind of thing. But as a patient hunter, if you listen, the universe will really speak to you. It's quite incredible. I still, you know, the big turn for me is I'm actually believing these things now. There's not this part of me that keeps saying, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. It's like, oh yeah, of course. This is fucking happening. That's so cool.
Hey, I have one question for you, unless anybody else has a question. And then I think that'll probably be the last one.
Make it good, Mark. The big final question. There's been a lot of good
All right.
ones, man. I'd hate to top
We're gonna
Josh.
have to think about it. I'm ready for you. So I'm super impressed, especially hearing you talk about the amount of accessing of these skills and sort of spiritual technologies that you do in daily life. You're saying, I'm writing and I'm accessing a shamanic vortex to write. And I understand what that's like. I've done that too. But I've only done it when I'm taking a work break and really in a different state. And so I feel like you're probably nailing that kind of skill level very regularly. And I'm asking, what does the path of apprenticeship or mastery look like, and what are the biggest mistakes you've made along the way that we can avoid?
Oh my God. So much of what I want to do is help people not fuck up like I did. Because I learned a lot. It was a great story, and I almost died, you know? And the real focus I have is don't keep going too long in the shadow. Do like a 3-second rule, a 3-minute rule. It's always about just upping the vibration. It's not about right or wrong. Just make it fun. Make it loving. Make it enjoyable. Keep raising that. Now, I am now starting a 90-day accelerated evolution package because I realize, like, you guys are talking to me, and you know, I have all this information and wisdom that I've kind of gathered through people, and it'll hopefully increase a lot over time. But I haven't had a form where it's like, in 90 days, if you want to learn tricks I've learned and add to the book too, go on this journey. So I'm creating a field guide for like love, life, and the multiverse, and accompanying sessions. So if anyone's interested, I'm actually about to kickstart that. You can email me, and I'll talk about this stuff about mediumship, how to work with fluff and spike, bioenergetics, and what it means. You know, the whole deal, because I feel like it's time for me to stop just sitting on this stuff, and it only gets out to, you know, in these little ways. I need a program. So that's my excited thing for this year. Honestly, Josh and crew, I think each of you guys could create a program over time too. Like, it just sounds like there's so much wisdom and exploration going on in that room. And that really excites me. One of the best Q&As, guys, I've ever had.
Oh, man. Thank you.
Cool. Oh, yeah, and just the last little pitch, guys. I hope you have a great time in Amsterdam, and anyone's interested in, you know, you can try out a session and see what it's like. You can just go to talathealing.com, and my name's spelled T-A-L-A-T. Much love on your journeys.
Talat,
Happy New Year.
I'll add that I've worked with Talat as a client for the last 1.5 years. It was really good. Thank you. We're going to keep working together, keep exploring.
All right.
And thank you for finishing out the Transvolve 2014 Enhanced Learning and Consciousness Conference.
Yeah. Woo!
Yeah.
Love to you guys, and I got to do a shout out of love, one to Josh for this great questions and everybody, and Mark for being just such an inspiring big wave psychonaut. He's really going forward in his life. He's going to do music to heal the world in symphonies and whatever he chooses, bars, I don't know. But he's a big wave international globe-trotting music lover and sharer. So if you guys haven't checked out his magic yet, I might give you a little shout out to Mark too. Okay, love to all. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Bye.
Oh.